what the Church of Scientology is so afraid of.
This is SPTV.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to our weekly SPTV series, All Things Scientology, where we pull back the curtain on the abusive world of the Scientology cult. I'm your host this evening, Amy Scobee, and my co-host Claire Headley is in Los Angeles today attending a high school graduation of someone who was helped by the Aftermath Foundation. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest. Her name is Janis Grady, and it's someone that I have known for about 40 years, not to give away my age at all. And I'd like you all to welcome Janis Grady.
You've given away my age.
I think I was really young then. Hi, Janis. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm happy to see you. You look fantastic.
Oh, you're beautiful as ever, and you never age.
I do.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Boy, if there's anyone that I could think of right away to share amazing history of Scientology, the first person on the list is going to be you. You've been around since the beginning, and there goes your phone. And you have just a wealth of information to share and contacts that go on for days and everything like that. So I wanted you to first, for people who may not know you, give a little bit of history about yourself and your overview of your experience in Scientology.
Okay. Well, I was born into Scientology. My mother is Yvonne Gillum Gents. She was the founder of Celebrity Center. And my father is Peter Gillum, who many people know him as the nutritionist who had the Peter Gillum nutrition stores next to the complex in Los Angeles and in Clearwater as well. He was also the mission holder for Phoenix Mission back in the 70s. And so those were my parents. I'm born in Australia. We left when I was 10 years old and moved to England to St. Hill. And then when I was 11, I went to the Royal Scotsman. And I lived on the Royal Scotsman for 8 years.
Which is a ship.
Traveling the Mediterranean and the Caribbean. Mm-hmm. And then came to America when I was 19 years old. And I've been here ever since. But I was in the Sea Org for 22 years. At the INT base for 11 years. Yes. I've seen and heard a lot.
Yes, you have. And that's where I met you I think I met you at the international headquarters in 1983. But I think you said that there was something else. You saw me earlier than that.
Yeah, because, I at least knew of your name before you came up to INT. Because I'd done the executive resource project, so I knew a lot of names.
Okay.
I was familiar with your name, or I might have even seen you were you there in 79?
I joined the Sea Org in 79, and then shortly after that, went to Florida. But the first person that I met was Paul, your husband.
Oh, okay.
And because he and I were assigned a mission together, he came down from the INT base, and it was a mission to reorganize the estates area. It busted a whole bunch of people and stuck them. L. Ron Hubbard had an advice it was called the CWPE program. CW is Clearwater, PE is Public Estates, and the program that he wrote, which was to bust all the executives over the estates area as swampers into the galley. And so Paul came, and then I was assigned to him as his, second person on the mission to do this. And I wasn't supposed to see the confidential L. Ron Hubbard thing, but Paul showed me anyway. So I got to see the hot news from L. Ron Hubbard. And so, we busted a whole bunch of people. It wasn't the most fun thing I ever did, but Paul was super, super nice. And he told me that he was about to get married to the love of his life, and that was you.
Yeah, we had ridden each other for a year. Well, Well, he was in Clearwater before he moved up to Int. We wrote nearly every day to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, then I went up to the Int base. It was about 83. What year did you get up there?
79 when we opened it. I moved from winter headquarters in La Quinta to summer headquarters in Hemet.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the end of 79 was when we did that.
In 1979. Yes. I think
Yeah.
that's when Matt, my husband Matt, went up there as well.
Yeah, he would have been
Yeah.
up there to help with the renovations. We were trying to get new people up there to help.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So one of the things that we had in common is we were both in the Commodore's Messenger Org International. And when I first went up to the Int base as a RPFer, a Rehabilitation Project Force member. And they just scooped up a whole bunch of people from LA that were on the RPF and sent them to Hemet to do the renovations for L. Ron Hubbard's house because he was coming back and it had to be done. And we worked around the clock for like 2 years, barely slept. And then my RPF assignment was canceled as invalid after 2 years.
Wow.
I know.
Crazy.
Anyway, and so then I went into CMO International right at that point, and almost right away became the chief officer's organizing officer. And I think you were the operations chief at that
Yes.
time.
Yep.
So
You were working for KK.
That's right. KK was the chief officer. I was the chief officer's organizing officer, which meant that anything that had to get done, it had to be organized first, and I had to have the personnel for it and the training for it and everything done and in place so the production could flow with no glitches. And so that was my job. I was on that for a while, actually, a long time.
Yeah, you did.
I became permanently posted on it, which is you have to go through a whole series of steps to become permanently posted. And so I was on it for a long time. And that job, the chief officer is over the Watchdog Committee, and it was over the Operations Bureau and Treasury Bureau and PR Bureau and programs and Qual.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. The Programs Bureau and Qual. So it was the meat of, the Commodore's Messenger Org. And then
plus the
yes?
senior CS Int office.
Oh yeah, senior CS Intel. Oh, that was a big one. That one was my headache. Those guys were always getting in trouble. But when you were the operations chief, it was given to me as an assignment to handle Janis Grady. Because L. Ron Hubbard or somebody, I think it was an advice from L. Ron Hubbard, said that you cared too much for the staff. And so you were like labeled disaffected because you stood up for the staff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What happened?
And I
What was that?
Worker oriented.
Oh, that's what it was. Worker oriented. Yes, worker oriented. That should have been a badge of honor, man.
It is a badge of honor.
And was it from L. Ron Hubbard, or where did that come from? I think it was, right? Because it was like something that was handed down saying this is like top priority, or maybe it was David Miscavige. What was it? Do you remember?
I don't know where it came from, but I was always that way. The staff, even on the ship, staff knew to come to me if they needed something appealed with the Commodore.
Oh, I know. I know that you were always like that there, So I got in trouble because I didn't handle Janice being worker oriented. I mean, how was I supposed to handle that? Okay, Janice. I mean, so what we were made to do is write this ethics, tech, and admin program for Janice. So the ethics had to go in first. So that meant whatever conditions that you had to do and formulas and amends or whatever you had to do. And then the tech would go in. So once ethics are in, then it was a technical program to get you all spiffy, and then an admin program to set you up so that none of this would ever happen again. Anyway, I didn't get it done and I got in trouble.
Oh. Well, I'm glad I didn't change.
Yeah, no. And then plus you got promoted after that. You became my boss.
That's right.
Remember?
I became the chief officer.
You became the chief officer and I was your org officer. So, yes. And then I
Yeah,
appreciated you being worker oriented, because if somebody else disapproved my day off, you scratched their name off of it and wrote, okay.
that's
You
because
did
I'm
that.
worker oriented.
You literally did that for me. You did that for me. I was actually in trouble for something, and it was like, but your stats were up, and it was disapproved, and then you scratched it off and you wrote okay, and I literally went to the beach that day. It was
Good
like
for
one of the
you.
only times. It was one of the only times we ever got a day off.
Yeah. No, well, I did. I had an issue with how people were treated. I
Mhm.
always looked at it, they're here as volunteers, and who are we to take away their freedom, The policy
Yeah.
says give them the time off.
Yeah. I mean, volunteers not in the way of, don't pay me.
Yeah,
But volunteers, like, we are dedicating our lives to supposedly helping, salvage mankind from ruin,
right.
you know.
Exactly. And we were in a mess ourselves.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Well, where were you in 1987 when David Miscavige came down on his mission being run by himself? You remember when
1987?
You remember he came down to CMO International on a mission, and this is when the whole RTC takeover was done.
Oh, I was chief
Yeah,
officer at the time.
were you?
Yeah, because I remember just before he did that whole reorg, Pat Broker and DM were fighting with Vicky and Annie.
Okay, and DM is David Miscavige. We're
David
talking about.
Miscavige and Mark Yeager were fighting with Vicky and Annie Broker because
Hmm.
Vicky Azaran was the head of RTC, and they had taken away being fully hatted and required that you get the false purpose rundown in order to be fully hatted.
Hmm.
So any of us who were fully hatted and hadn't had the FPRD could no longer get bonuses.
I remember that. I remember that.
And I, of course, spoke up and I say, well, look, we busted an affluence in the international stats when this was implemented.
Yeah, this is
Because,
our why.
yeah. And Vicky and Annie were coming after Yeager and I. And KK was the chief off at the time, and she was supporting Vicky.
Hmm.
And so I'm going to Pat and Dave's going, and Yeager, look, this is what the stats show.
Hmm.
And it's putting the FPRD in as a requirement and making sure no one got bonuses anymore.
Yeah.
And that is actually the start of when DM started bucking up against Pat and Annie. Pat did support Dave on that. And we were then allowed to get bonuses at that time. The bonuses came back, I believe, but we had to make a certain deadline in order to get our FPRD to keep getting
Right.
the bonuses. Yeah.
Right. And just so everyone knows, the bonuses are like, what, $200 or something like that. When you basically your pay in the C organization was, I think it was $17.20
It
or
was $17.
$17.20 a week. And then if your stats were really good, you had to be had it on your job, and I believe permanently posted, because I got bonuses because I was permanently posted.
Yeah.
So
Permanently
yeah.
posted. Yes.
Yeah, so you could get bonuses, and sometimes, and it would depend on the statistics, so sometimes it was very little, like $80 or something like that, and sometimes it was a little bit more, but we're not talking huge bonuses, but it made a big difference, and
Oh, yeah.
it was an incentive to make sure that your production was up so that you could get your bonus.
That's
Anyway,
right. And, yeah, international stats were in an affluence at that time, and they crashed right after.
Nobody gave a hell anymore. They weren't going to get their $80 bonus. Forget it. Well, that was
Yeah.
funny. Oh my gosh. Well, there's another thing. You were in my wedding in 1987.
Okay. And I can vaguely remember it, but I don't fully remember it. I looked at your wedding party and I was like, why wasn't I in there?
Okay, well, I'm going to refresh your memory because I
Okay.
have a surprise for you.
Okay.
Let's see if I can get this in here. Okay, one sec. Add to stream. There it is.
Oh,
This is the wedding party, and I've even got all the names on here. I'm going to go through these and we'll talk about it.
yes.
But here is Janis Grady. Can you see? I don't know if you can see my mouse or not. Probably not. But
No, but I can.
okay,
Yeah,
so I will go from left to right, starting with the men. So the best men in this wedding were Mats Markowitz.
yeah.
He was like an engineer on the ship, right? What was he? He was around
Yes.
forever. Yeah.
Yes.
The next, Walter Kotrick. He was my twin on the RPF for a long time. The next one is Tom Ashworth, who's out of the Sea Org and was my friend for a long time. And he was the deputy WDC chairman for reserves. He was over the finances of Scientology. And then the next one is Mike Eldridge.
Wow.
And he's out of the Sea Org too. And then my husband at the time, we were married 17 years, never saw each other. His name was Jim Mortland, and he's there in the center. Everybody's in their full dress, stupid Sea Org uniform, except for the ladies. The ladies, we didn't do that, luckily. And there's me. And then next to me is Janet Adair Swanson. She was associated with everything. Every time I got in big trouble, her name was on it. I don't know where she is.
That's not
anymore.
A surprise.
It's not. I tell you, like 3 of my 4 RPF assignments were done by her directly. And the one time I got a non-interpolation order, and if I receive one more report that I'm going to get declared suppressive, was done by her too. And it was because I supposedly third-partied between you and her. You were my boss. She was the deputy commanding officer for internal. And she said, Janice needs to do blah. And so she wanted me to relay that. So I came to you and I said, Janitor said you need to do blah. And you said, I'm not doing blah. Go tell her I'm not doing blah. And I said, I don't want to tell her. I don't want to be in the middle. You guys have a conversation yourselves, right? No, I'm not going to have a conversation. So I go and tell her, Janice said blah. So then she blows up and then you guys fight. And there's a policy in Scientology that any conflict, there's a third party. You have to investigate to find who sparked the third party, and that's your target. So now I'm the target, and I got a non-interpolation order written on me by her.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Janice. I've never forgotten it. No.
Oh, dear.
I knew where it came from. Okay, it wasn't you. Okay, and then there's you, and then next to you is Liz Ingber.
Right.
Mark Ingber's wife, and then who I always talk so fondly of, Mark Ingber. And then there is Roanne Hubbard Horwich, and that is L. Ron Hubbard's granddaughter Roanne. When she was really young. I've got a bunch of pictures of her, not a bunch, probably a couple more, but
I've
not
seen
here.
Some of those. I've seen some of the pictures of you with her.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, and she's out of the Sea Org now too. I don't know exactly when she left, but yeah. So that's that one. And then I'll show you a couple more. This one is at the wedding. So that's me and then Jim. And then in the background, that's Janet Adair. And then Janice, your face is right behind that microphone.
That's why I thought I wasn't in it.
They couldn't have got a better shot if they tried. And then down here in the front row, so that's Tom Ashworth as the first person. The next person next to him is Mark Yeager, the one with the beard. That's Mark Yeager. He was the Watchdog Committee chairman and commanding officer of the Commodore's Messenger Org International. And I've talked a lot about him. He was my boss for like 18 years. And he was the one that was made to go by David Miscavige to go out to the swamp on the property and build his own cage. Right. Remember, out of bamboos.
I heard about that. I was not there when it happened.
Yeah, but I think you had already left, which is a story in itself. We're going to get to that one because I got in trouble again for that, Janice. Okay.
Well, not me, but I'm sorry. But you know what? Yeager was probably the best boss I'd ever had.
That's interesting. Yeah, he never raised his voice once to me, but he was sure a punching bag for David Miscavige, boy.
Yep.
Here's the next one, which is, this is Ray Midoff as the minister. Ray Midoff is was for many, many years, Senior Case Supervisor International. He's the last person to audit L. Ron Hubbard, and he was Inspector General for Tech as well. And he was our minister. And there's Roanne peeking her head over on the far right. And then another good shot of Janice.
Yep. Hiding behind Ray.
And then Janitor, and then me and Jim. Okay, then the next one. Let's go to this one. I added so that you can kind of see where we were at, but you can also see that hat that he's wearing. That's the Sea Org symbol. It's a wreath with a star in the middle. And everybody was in their dress whites. In the summer, everyone wore dress whites because the Hemet compound is in the desert. It's in the middle of the desert. And so we wore shorts. And I swear, who designed those things? I mean, they were like diapers. They didn't fit at all. They had like a really short crotch. It was just terrible. Anyway, they looked like crap.
Paul ran those missions.
They were made in like a foreign place, like Taiwan or something. Yeah, they don't have the same bodies as Americans do.
No.
But anyway, and then speaking of Paul, here's Jim and I, and then this is Paul on the far right. He's wearing his insignia, which was Chief Petty Officer at the time, and Jim's rank is ensign, and it's all make-believe stuff because obviously these guys haven't seen one day of military in their lives. I was a commander. My real rank was ensign. It's just stupid. It's just made up rank and rating for the Sea Organization. But there is Paul, and we lost Paul not too long ago.
December 2021.
December,
yeah. COVID.
Yes, yeah.
And you wrote the ceremony for him. That was so beautiful. That was such a great job you did. Thank you.
100% my honor, Janice. I would do anything for you.
I know.
And I've known him since I was a teenager. I was 17 years old when I first met Paul. Yep. Okay. Yeah. And then let's see if I have anything else here. So those are the ones. I have to figure out how to get it off here. Here we go. Remove. So those are the ones that I brought. And I also brought copies of your book photos, which right before we go to taking questions, we'll go ahead and show those and do a few plugs like for websites and everything. But I want to get to how you left.
How I left.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What happened? Because I got in trouble over this.
Oh, you did?
Yes, Janice. I was in the Hubbard Communications office. I was over all personnel and ethics and communications. And I was supposed to handle Janice again. How does this keep getting assigned to me? But I don't know. Fate, because here we are,
you
right?
Never handled me in the first place.
Yes. My ethics handling from the first time obviously wasn't complete because I got in trouble again. But you came down, you were trying to get some days off to see family who came from Australia. Yep. Or was it Australia? Okay. Yep. And it was disapproved by your superiors. What were you doing at the time?
I was on a project to set up the kids ranch out at Happy Valley, because originally I was deputy WC chairman, and then DM, of course, wanted the best WC member over the FSO. So I end up getting put on FSO, and then Milt Wolf at the ship at the Free Winds needed handling because he was gambling and drinking ashore. So I was sent to the Free Winds as the commanding officer of the ship.
Yeah.
While Milt got cleaned up.
Yeah.
Then when I came back, no one knew what to do with me. And Paul had already been busted from a mission he did because he said DM, David Miscavige, was the WHO of the Flag Service Org for two reasons. One, because he took away their purpose of being able to deliver OT8.
Mm-hmm.
And two, the fundraising that was going on for the IAS was off source, and there's totally against policy. So Paul
The IIS is International Association of Scientologists, and it's basically a war chest, and people just raise funds to just dump a bunch of funds in there, and so it can get way out of control where it's just money, 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 money. So that's what they were doing at Flag. Yeah.
So Paul takes after me and mouthed off. And
you
so
guys.
he gets recalled, and he actually called me because I was on the ship, and he called me in Aruba, and he said, "Don't listen to what they say. I'm being recalled. I'm in trouble." But so anyway, I was then escorted all the way back from the free winds to the base.
Oh my God!
Got my head clicking.
Oh yeah.
Because wait a minute, I'm not the one in trouble, but they're escorting me.
Mm-hmm.
And I get back to the base. No one knows what to do with me. So I just start working on the decks with Paul.
Mm-hmm.
And then they write a COMEV up on me.
A COMEV is a committee of evidence. It's a very steep justice action.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is now building in my head. And Greg Hughes, a WDC member, comes to me and says, "Okay, we need you to come to your COMEV."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "Why are you COMEVing me? I don't have a job.
Yeah.
So there's no job to remove me from." And he said, "Well, you need to still come." And I said, "I'm not coming."
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Well, if for refusing to show up for a COMEV, you can be declared." So I'm like, "Declare me then."
You were always like that.
You didn't know what to do.
No, nobody would know what to do.
No.
Plus, part of the thing, Jen, is just to say, you had status in the Sea organization because you were a Commodore's messenger, and like literally with the Commodore for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And so you had you were a senior messenger. There's all kinds of different assistant messenger, assistant graduate messenger, a senior messenger, WASP messenger, and all these different messengers. You were all of them, and you trained me too. We'll get back to that in a second, but because that was interesting, some of the things that you ran me through, but to train me, because Hubbard was going to come back, so that I could be a watch messenger with you. But anyway, so you got to just have this picture. Nobody knows what to do with you because, number one, they don't want to touch you because you're kind of like sacred ground, because you have ethics protection, ethics presence. You have your status as a senior messenger has never been revoked. You've been in the Sea Org for longer than 90% of the people there, or 99% of the people there. So, so they don't want, it's like hands offy. So he said, "You're going to be declared," and you said, "Declare." And she's Aussie, so that comes in with it too.
that definitely helps. I get a strong backbone from being Aussie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, so then I'm in with Lisa Schroer, and they're now trying to assign me to the RPF.
Okay, the RPF is the Rehabilitation Project Force, and Lisa Schroer, she would have been the supercargo at the time, which was over the Hubbard Communications Office. She was my senior.
Yeah.
She was a witch.
So no one knew what to do with me, and I'm refusing to go to the RPF. Again, I'm like, wait a minute. I was Deputy WDC Chairman, and then I was WDC Flag Service Org. I go to the ship to cover for Milt, and no one knows what to do with me, and I've not done anything wrong, So a phone call comes down, and Lisa gets up and leaves and comes back and then tells me David Miscavige wants to see me. So I knew he was in on the whole thing. This was his way to finally take me down. Because he'd made many attempts before, and he'd been a good friend. But every now and again, he would make these attempts to take me down. And so I had to go up to his office, at which point he was like, nobody knows what to do with you, but Biddy has said you can come do the kids ranch setup under her.
And Biddy was what at the time?
Biddy was,
Wasn't she the commanding officer?
no. Mark Imber
Oh.
was the commanding officer.
Oh, okay.
The worst boss I've ever had.
Ever?
You agree?
Oh my God, I've said so many things about Mark Ingber. Ugh.
Oh, I couldn't wait to go in session so I could just so I could natter up a storm about him.
Yeah, well, yeah. He had a fetish with me, and David Miscavige liked to, yeah. And David Miscavige liked to come down and show me his session reports to get my feedback.
Wow.
Yeah. Both of them were freaks, man. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Anyway, not my favorite people.
Yeah. Anyway, so I was put on the kids ranch setup at Happy Valley.
Okay.
Meanwhile, my aunt and uncle are coming in from Australia, and Paul and I did get to go down and pick them up. And then we spent a day with them and then dropped them off at the airport because they were going to the Ohio Air Show. And now when they were coming back, I'd already had a CSW approved for Paul to go with me.
And a CSW is a completed staff work. And in order to like move in Scientology, you have to get approval from people. So like to do anything. So, so it's just, we use it so loosely because it was just so used for everything. So a CSW, you have to write a CSW. So if you get approval on your CSW, your completed staff work, that means it's authorized.
Right. So I had that approval for Paul to go with me because he was on the RPF. And then he was on Sportsfield when the RPF got disbanded. And it was all approved and set up. Then the flood happened.
Oh, no.
The flood 2 days before we were supposed to go see my aunt and uncle and pick them up at the airport. And Dave that night was a raving lunatic up there on the stage, ranting and raving.
Yeah,
and I looked at Paul.
Just for a little bit of history. So in the Hemet base is in the desert, and it's at the bottom of foothills. And when it rains, that rain and mud comes down, and it was a real heavy rain, and it's like clay. So nothing absorbs, and the water just comes down and it brings all the mud with it, and it goes across the highway and into the buildings across from it. And that particular day, like one of these, they're called the G units. I don't even know why they're the G units, but the G's is what we called them. It's a bunch of cottages, and one was even renovated for Tom Cruise. So that got totally washed with mud. And so David Miscavige spent like 2 hours, called everybody on the entire base in, assigned us all confusion, and just ranted and raved like we caused the rain or something. But we all got in trouble, and anyone who was going to be late for anything was going to go straight to the rehabilitation project force, and all these penalties were implemented. So this is what Janice is talking about. So you guys were at that meeting?
Yes, but what a lot of people didn't know is that when the planning was done for the floods, it was proposed for 100 years. I mean, 10 years before, we'd already gone through a flood in 1980.
Yeah.
So here we were in 1990, and a 100-year plan had been sent up to Miscavige for approval. He disapproved it and said, do it for 10 years. So, of course, 10 years happens, and it's actually a 100-year flood.
Oh, goodness.
And it was DM's fault that all that happened because it should have been done differently.
Hi, David Miscavige. I know you're watching, and I hope you feel it.
Yeah, and
that was your fault.
It was his fault. He rejected the plan to do a 100-year flood.
Wow. Okay, good.
Yeah. Anyway, so Gold is now in big trouble, and I was called in and told Paul can't come with you.
And let me just say, just because there's going to be people that don't know Gold. Gold is Golden Era Productions, and that is the film studio portion of that international headquarters base. So Gold, we abbreviated Golden Era Production down to Gold. Go ahead. Sorry.
Right. So Paul, being in Gold, was not allowed to go with me. And I was called in by Lisa Schroer and told, Paul can't go with you. And by this time, I had already was thinking, I think I'm pregnant.
Oh my goodness.
And I only told Paul. And I did go in a session with Paul Schroer. Paul Schroer? No,
Probably.
Paul Sobel.
Oh, Shobel. Okay.
Schobel, yeah, Paul Schobel. Because I remember waiting till he said, this is the session, and saying, you know, I think I'm pregnant. But I wasn't going to tell anyone else. There was no way I was going to sit in ethics and be hounded on until I went and had an abortion.
I know. That's what they do.
I wasn't going there.
Yeah, in the Sea
So-
organization, especially at that time, there were policies written by David Miscavige, ordered by
Yep.
him, but definitely came from him, that there were to be no more children in the Sea Org, no more having children, and otherwise you're going to get fitness boarded out. And so instead of getting fitness boarded, people were encouraged, demanded to get an abortion. And if, in fact, there were so many abortions happening from that base, because I guess, you know, protection wasn't being funded or something. I mean, it was an epidemic, that they had to go to different places because there were so many, and it was becoming a situation, you know, that there were so many people being channeled into these abortion clinics from the base. Anyway, so yeah, so you would have been put under that pressure.
Yes. So that's why I didn't tell a soul except for In Session and Paul, my husband. So when DM's going nuts up there, we kind of look at each other. And funny thing is, Mark Fisher was standing next to us.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. And Paul and I'm like, I'll take the car. And Paul's like, I'll take the bike. Because we were living off base at Kirby.
Okay. Kirby was a local kind of apartment thing that we bought up the whole thing, and the crew lived there until they built the birthing buildings on the property where everybody could just stay behind the gates and live there. But fortunately, we still had birthing off the property at that time, that you could have a means of escape.
Right. Yeah. So then what happened is, I've now been told Paul can't go with you. So I leave Lisa's office saying, don't worry, I'll figure it out. Because she's like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I'll figure it out. I already figured it out. Anyway, so the next night after the flood, a mission had been fired into Gold with Greg Wilhare and James Byrne.
Yes.
And that's when it was everyone had to be at muster on time or assigned to the rehabilitation project. And it was just insanity.
Everyone was being marched around and, you know, in formations and doing all kinds of stupid things.
Right. And then that night at like 11 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock, everyone is being woken up and made to get on the buses and go back into the base for a drill. So Paul and I were putting stuff in the car, and people saying, come on, Paul, we got to go to the base. He's like, Janice will drop me off on her way out of town.
Oh, God. And they said, oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. And so we put our valuables in the car that we wanted to take with us. It was just a little two-seater 280ZX, so you couldn't put a lot in there.
Yeah,
anyway,
I remember that car.
Yeah. So we drive off, and instead of turning right to the base, we turn left. We go down to my dad's and exchange cars with him because he had a four-seater. Go get my uncle and aunt, spend a couple of days with them, go back to my dad, trade cars, and I say, do you have the number for my brother? Because we're not going back. And he was like, ooh, but he gave me the phone number for my brother. And I hadn't seen my brother in 8 years.
Was he declared suppressive, or?
He was declared suppressive.
He was. Okay.
And the great thing he did before he left, he was declared because he left. He too had a problem with how the crew were treated. He was also very worker oriented like me.
Runs in the family.
It runs in the family. So he had actually invested some of Gold's money, following what LRH would do. He invested and made profit from it. So he then had silver coins made with the gold symbol stamped on it. And so the night before he left, he went around and gave everyone at Gold a silver coin.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Oh
Because
my
he
God.
felt that was some way he could get them a bonus because all their
Oh,
bonuses had been stopped.
oh yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, Paul and I, we then switch cars with my dad. I'm calling my brother, no answer. We go to the address and some stranger opens the door. It's a neighbor. And the neighbor's like, oh, he's down at the beach camping, but he'll be back. So I'm sitting on the couch. My brother shows up and he's like, wow, 8 years he
Last
hadn't seen me.
last person
So
he expected.
yeah, so he's like, come on down the beach. We have an extra tent. And so our first night out, we slept on the beach.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Good. Wow. Oh my gosh. What an exit. Well, things were hitting the fan when Janice and Paul left. Because it came back again. You came down to see me. Because you were trying to get me to get your CSW, which is the completed staff work, approved because your family was coming in and all this kind of stuff. And I remember I still have the picture of you standing in my doorway saying, it needs to get approved because you're going. And like, in other words, I'm going. I'm like, going, Amy, going, not really going. And I looked at you going, oh my God, I know what that means. I could totally tell. But at the same time, I didn't do anything. And what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Jump on you, pounce on you, sit on you, and,
Right.
it just wasn't in my nature. And I just knew that there's no changing your mind if you're going to do something. So anyway, because I didn't handle you or whatever, of course I got in trouble again after that. But anyway, that's my badge of honor, not handling Janice on her worker orientation and wanting to leave.
And being a good friend.
Yes, yeah. Oh my gosh, we've been friends for so long now. Do you know that you're the first person, I think you're the very first person that I saw from Scientology and the Sea Organization after Matt and I left the Sea Org.
Oh, really?
You and
When you
Paul came
came
up
to
to
visit?
Seattle. Yeah, no,
Oh,
you and Paul came up to Seattle because his family was up there.
that's
And
right.
and somehow we made contact. And so you drove up to, or flew or whatever, up to Seattle to see the family. But then you came over and visited with Matt and I.
Yes, that's
And
right.
yes, and one of my favorite photos is a photo that you took at that meeting, which I don't have here. It's on my slideshow, that plays in my living room all the time. I get to
Right.
see it, but yeah, that was so you guys were one of the first people I ever saw after leaving the Sea Org, and of course we've seen each other many, many, many times after that.
Yeah,
Not
I saw
often,
you in
not
February.
yes. Yeah, one of 118 different people you visited on a whirlwind trip, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But your favorite one though, right?
Yeah, my favorite one was seeing you. I didn't run towards anybody else but you.
Is that right? We were doing this like running because we were down in Tarpon Springs at the sponge docks, and it's really beautiful down there. And I could see her in a distance coming down the sidewalk, and we both start running to each other. I love you, Janice. You're so great. So a couple things I want to do is plug your books. So let's have you talk about them. So this is
Okay.
book 1, and it says Commodore's Messenger, book 1. It says A Child Adrift in the Scientology Sea Organization by Janis Grady. Want to tell us about that?
Yeah, this book actually starts off the very first chapter. I was 21 years old, or maybe 22, but I'd been locked up for 11 days because I'd wanted to leave because they were trying to put me in the RPF.
Oh boy.
Whenever I get assigned to the Rehabilitation Project Force, I'm ready to leave. Anyway,
Unlike me, who I just gladly go 4 times, right?
yeah, so they locked me up for 11 days until I finally agreed to go.
Oh God.
And then, so that's where it starts, where I'm like, how the hell did I end up here? So then
Yeah.
it goes back to my parents being in Scientology before I was born. And it goes through the whole history of the ban of Scientology in Victoria, Australia, and that's why my parents moved the whole family to England. Plus, another 100 families were moved to England because of it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of Australians just started leaving. And if that never happened, I'd probably still be down in Australia. Anyway,
Wow.
so I start the book off there, and then we go to England, and then I'm on the ship at 11 years old with no parents. I've got my 13 and 14-year-old brother and sister, and our mother had sailed the day before we arrived. And then this just goes through how I became a Commodore's messenger, and then sea adventures and adventures in Greece and Morocco and Portugal and Spain. And this takes us through to probably October 71. And that when I was probably about 15 years old, 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And then book 2 starts up when we're
okay, but before we leave book 1, so this is a picture of Janice. How old were you there behind L. Ron Hubbard?
I think I was probably about 13, 14 in that picture.
Yeah.
13.
Yep.
Yeah. And you got to check out my flood pants.
I noticed that right away. High waters, because you're on the ship. High waters, you needed them, right?
That's because I was growing.
And you only had one pair of pants.
I had $10 a week pay.
Oh my God. Okay, and this is book 2. It says Commodore's Messenger, book 2. It says Riding Out the Storms with L. Ron Hubbard. So where does this one pick up from?
Yeah, so this one picks up as we're sailing away from a hurricane in the Azores that was the worst thing we'd ever gone through. It was major storm, and I explain it all in there. Mm-hmm. And then we're sailing back down to Morocco, and then this just goes into the rest of the years and getting kicked out of different ports, and then having rocks thrown at us in Madeira, which we called the Rock Festival, and then we pretend we're sailing down to the coast of Africa. Instead, we sail across to Bermuda. And then I cover us trying to sail into the US, where Jane Kember, as the guardian of Scientology, gets from England. She calls the ship and is asking for the Commodore. And so he and I go down the radio room, and she is telling him, turn around. There's Knox and IRS agents on the dock waiting for us.
Oh, wow. So the Guardian, so Jane Kember, she actually went to prison for a lot of her criminality of infiltration into the U.S. government with other people, including Mary Sue Hubbard, L. Ron Hubbard's wife. But Jane Kember was the Guardian worldwide is what the job title was. And she was responsible for basically what the Office of Special Affairs does now, all the intel, investigations, and external facing activities and infiltration of the government. And so she was the one who tipped off the ship saying the feds are there ready to capture you, right?
Yeah, yep. And, that the Knox are probably going to plant drugs on the ship to arrest us and take over the ship. So we quickly turned around. The Commodore zoomed out of that radio room up to the bridge and turned us around right away and got back into international waters. And then we're like, where do we go? Okay, down the Bahamas.
And the Commodore, L. Ron Hubbard is known as the Commodore, and he's known as the founder, and he's known as Source, and he's known as LRH. Is he known as anything else?
Ron. And
nobody
some
called
people
him.
call him L. Ron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never in the Sea Org. Never in the Sea Org do you call him that, ever.
Nor at St. Hill. His name was Ron. This L. Ron is like, yeah. Anyway, so this book goes all the way through to when we finally pack up the ship and leave. And then book 3 isn't released. I still got to get back into writing it. But book 3 starts with us coming to America.
Okay, good. Wow, there's so much history that you have. And I don't know where, when I was leaving the Sea Organization, all my personal effects practically were confiscated. So that I made it out with anything was amazing. But you seem to have like, I mean, chests and chests and chests full of photographs. How'd you get
You know
them?
what? They took
No,
my photographs when I left.
no way.
I had storage in Hemet
Uh-huh.
because when I went to the free wins, I put all my stuff in storage in Hemet because I knew it was fair game if it just stayed at the base.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And so when I left, I thought it'd be safe, but it wasn't. Jackson and his crew came along and cut the lock and
Oh
took
man,
all my photographs. So after I left, I started recollecting.
you did.
And I found my dad had a bunch, my sister had some, my brother, Doreen, my sister-in-law had a bunch, just different messengers. And then old time SEAL members ended up giving them
Mm.
to me because they didn't want them. So I've
Hmm.
just been collecting them over the years.
Oh, that's so good. I mean, what is they just don't want us to post them up or something. I don't know why they confiscate all this stuff. They confiscated, I mean, when Matt left, they took everything, even a picture of his mom. I mean, what's that gonna do? It's just so
Yeah.
ridiculous. And they took his passport, but
Yeah, I had a whole, because I did the Free Winds original maiden voyage mission. I had a whole photo album of that whole event, and they're mostly just pictures
oh,
of me on the maiden voyage. They
yeah.
took the whole album, and
Mhm.
they took the plaque the crew had given me, and they'd all signed it. She doesn't need it. She was never on the Free Winds.
Yeah, she was never an executive, and any post that she did have, she failed at, and she should have been in the she should have been offloaded long ago. And what
Right,
else? Yeah, never saw L. Ron Hubbard, let alone worked for him.
right. And how did I get to the rank of lieutenant commander?
About those pictures that show you with L. Ron Hubbard, those were doctored. I don't know. It's just so crazy. But
Yeah.
so that's wonderful. And now I want to show this banner here, which is your YouTube channel. So what's your YouTube now?
Yes, it is Our Stories Peeling the Onion. And please subscribe to it, because if you don't subscribe and if I don't get my stats of subscriptions up by tomorrow, 2 o'clock, Mark's going to send me to ethics.
So their YouTube channel is Mark Fisher and Janis Grady, Our Scientology Stories Peeling the Onion. So you could find them on YouTube. Yeah, I mean wait. So my my YouTube because you're probably on it, guys. But what I wanted to say was I have last time I checked, just before I started here, I had 6,656 subscribers. 6,656. I don't like that number. I want to have 7,777 before Thursday at 2. I don't know why Scientology picked this date. Maybe it was L. Ron Hubbard or something that picked
Yeah,
the Thursday at 2 p.m. That's when our weeks would cut off. It's the strangest time of the week, 2
it was
p.m. on Thursday.
it was based off of management at Worldwide at St. Hill, so that they could review the stats for the week and send out marching orders by Friday, so that everyone's got it to start on Monday.
Okay. I'm sure I knew that, but to me, it was just always so arbitrary. Thursday at 2 o'clock, everything ends, could be the end of the day. And then Friday, we do the stat analysis. And then by Monday, they have their marching orders.
Yeah.
So dumb. But anyway, so we're going to go ahead and go into questions and everything. But what I wanted to do is put this on here. So I want to thank people who have been donating to my friend, Mike Rinder. And I want to put up his donate site right here. This is for his blog. So if you follow that, and if you have it in your heart to donate to him, that would be very appreciated. And I wanted you to see this, which is my new website. So it's called www.scobee-publishing.com. Remember to have a dash in between, because Scobee Publishing by itself is a gambling site. It's got my pictures and everything, but somebody scooped that up and used it to have gambling on it. So don't use that one. Use Scobee-publishing.com. So I'm still expanding it and everything, but you can buy my book there, a signed copy. And I put up a ton of photos, and I'm still working on captions, and I'm still, expanding the website, but it's up and able for you are able to go there and either write to me or buy a book. Okay, and then let's see. I also wanted to go over here. I think that's it on those. Now I'm going to go over to questions, and we're going to start taking some questions. Oh, but
Okay.
we'll take the banner down first, and then go over here, and let's see. So, start questions. Here we go. Okay, so this one says, did you know Susan Meister and or Stacy Moxon were their deaths suspicious? So this is from Justin Craig, aka LRH 2.0.
Isn't he in jail?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Okay. I knew Sue Meister. Stacy Moxon, that happened after I'd already left the gold base. But Sue Meister, no, it was not suspicious. She did commit suicide, and no one actually heard or knew it until Amos Jessup, who she was living with in his officer's cabin on the ship, he went to go get something from his cabin and the door was locked. And he had to go all the way downstairs to berthing to get the master key and unlock, and that's when he found her.
Okay, I didn't hear about that one. On
Yeah,
Stacy Moxon,
it's in my book. It's in my second book.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yes.
And then I did know Stacy Moxon because she was at the base when I was there. We were briefed on her death. To me, it's completely suspicious. I think it was a suicide, but I was on the electrical team for years. We on Saturday renovation every Saturday, the entire property would do renovations of the base, and I was always on the electrical team. And I've got stories about that because we could never turn the power off to disturb production. So we're doing everything live. And I'm telling you, I got some stories. Oh yeah. I got some serious OSHA stories about that. But we were told that she was chasing a squirrel into an electric vault. Okay. You know how stupid that is? As an electrician, I'm going, you don't chase a squirrel into an electric vault. And the vault, I knew exactly where the vault was. I'd been there. It's halfway up the mountain, and it's not accessible. You have to seriously pull off a huge, heavy iron lid even to get in there. So it had to be intentional. But anyway, her dad is Ken Moxon, who's a lawyer and a cover-up artist for Scientology crimes. So sorry about that. Okay, so how do I undo this? Okay, here we go. Hey, Mark Fisher.
Hi, Mark. I did tell people to subscribe. You need to make sure the numbers go up. We got to hit, well, I guess we still got to hit 5,000, maybe 4,000. Anyway, I told him to subscribe so you don't have to do an ethics handling on me tomorrow at 2:00.
Tomorrow at 2. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the next one is a super sticker from Susan Holmes. Thank you, Susan. And the next one is from Chad, super sticker. Thank you, Clearwater Chad. He's always so fun. And also, I saw that the ladies, I don't know if it was a lady or not, but that makes the crochet, made a Clearwater Chad crochet doll, and it was amazing. Huh? It's amazing. I mean, I've got so many things. I can't start showing now, but
well, I've got the theta potato.
You do? Okay, because if I unhook, it's really bad when I unhook. Okay, I just got to show you this one.
Oh, mango.
This is mango. His tail needs to go like that. There we go.
That's so cute.
Even pink nose and all, because he's got this cute little pink nose.
Yeah, I saw Claire got one too, a Claire bear.
Yes, I saw that. And I got this beautiful tumbler. I'm always backwards here. That says Queen Bee SP. That's engraved into this thing. I don't have it all with me right here, but I get so many fun things. But anyway, I'll show what I don't show tonight. I'll show that on my channel too, so everyone can see and acknowledge all the people that did that. And the mango one was from Brooke. Thank you, Brooke. And the tumbler was from Debbie. Thank you, Debbie. And thank you for your super sticker, Chad, Clearwater Chad. Okay, the next one says, I know this is an odd question. This is Caligo 26, but are women allowed to take Midol in the Sea Org? I can't survive my period without it. Did you get a break during it? I don't know what Midol is.
I don't know what it is either.
Part of the problem, we didn't take anything for anything. I mean, did you ever take anything? I mean, we in the Sea Org, one of the things that we would do is touch assists. It's called a touch assist, and it's again, something that's totally stupid, and mainly I would fall asleep during them. But you go, a person sitting across from you touches you and says, "Feel my finger," and you go, "Uh-huh," and they say, "Thank you." Exact opposite side, same place. Feel my finger. Uh-huh. Thank you. Feel my finger. Uh-huh. Thank you. Literally, and it goes on until you go, okay, I feel so good, because you just can't take it one more second. But I don't know the theory on even, I mean, I know the theory, but it really is stupid. And then also nervousus, where somebody would lay on their stomach and then somebody's like going down their back like this and then going like this. Is supposed to unlock the energy flows. It's L. Ron Hubbard's design of how to unlock energy flows. And you're supposed to like flip over and then flip over and flip. So if your back hurts and you're doing a bunch of flipping, it really doesn't help.
Yeah. Hey, someone said us for cramps.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
good. So
I know most people. I know Hubbard actually told Dee Dee when she had cramps, he had her sip gin.
Oh, is that right? That there was no gin on the international headquarters property. No. I can tell you that.
But otherwise, people used to take CalMag or Calm.
Okay, so CalMag is calcium and magnesium, and it was disgusting, but we had it all the time. It would that you put vinegar, water, calcium, magnesium powder, and mix it up and then gag it down, because on the purification program, you're supposed to drink CalMag the whole time. And like I said on many other live streams or whatever, I was made to do that program 8 straight months, 5 hours a day. And I swear, if I smell CalMag nowadays, it just makes me throw up.
Let me put in a plug for my products, because my dad actually came up with a instant CalMag. Instead of vinegar, he used citric acid. And that's and I now sell that. I have the original instant CalMag, which plain and raspberry lemon flavor, or Calm, which is a magnesium product. And both those are supposed to help relax the muscles and ease the cramps and that type of thing.
Okay, that's wonderful. Good. Sounds better than CalMag.
Yes.
This one says, Amy, I prayed along with your beautiful prayer the other night for Mike. I opened my eyes and I had tears streaming down my face. So touching. Mike is blessed to have a wonderful friend like you. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you, MCAS. Anyway, I just said whatever was on my heart. Of course, I could say a million other things about Mike, who I've known since I was 16 years old. That's a long, long time. And he's amazing, an amazing friend.
Yeah, I've known Mike since he came to the ship in the end of 73, I believe it was.
Wow. Yeah.
50 years.
Yeah, oh my gosh, 50 years. That's
I must
amazing.
have just been born.
I'm about to have my 60th birthday pretty soon. Boy, it's coming right up on us. That means you're really old. No.
I'll have to fly in for that.
Yes, we'll do something special. I think we should go to Las Vegas and see you there, because you have this beautiful pool at your house now.
Yes, come and celebrate in my backyard.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Okay, this one says, from Sarah S., personal question. With your limited pay, how did you get menstrual products? You're so funny, girls. Birth control. I wonder if this contributed to many, pregnancies. The organization was supposed to pay for that stuff, and it would probably just get cut.
Yeah.
Because we didn't get enough pay for anything, like the money that we got bought us toothpaste and maybe cigarettes, and shampoo or something like that. But other than that, that expense was supposed to be from the organization. And if it didn't get covered, then that's where the oops comes in. Okay, the next one is from Mark Andrew Demarest. It says, how else are they supposed to usher in the plague, the great flood, L. Ron Flutter? Yeah, they ushered it in, that's for sure. I remember that day very well. Okay, and this is from Destiny Salazar. Thank you, Destiny. I love your bobblehead picture. When my uncle left SCI, I guess that would be Scientology.
Yeah.
Okay, so he described physical abuse and hours of interrogation. Yes, but he said the spiritual abuse was the hardest thing to recover from. Does that ring true to you as well?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So much so.
Yeah, the mental abuse.
Yeah. I mean, it's so hard to describe because, you have to kind of live it and be in it. And, you're shamed so bad, you're segregated, in my case, for a couple months, I was put on hard manual labor. That sounds like nothing compared to what all the years that I spent in the rehabilitation project force, but it was being separated, isolated, put on hard manual labor, fed only a diet of beans and rice for breakfast, lunch, and dinner only, being under 24-hour guard, people watching you go into the bathroom with you, doing everything. You couldn't move on your own. This is a church. These are, anyway, yeah. So it's, and the interrogations, it took, finally, my husband, when we weren't married yet, but we were going to leave together and get married when we left. It was hours upon hours and weeks of full-time interrogations on the e-meter with somebody asking him, have you ever committed an overt, which is, have you ever done anything bad? And it's just so open and stupid. And he's talking about not cutting the grass right when he was 10 years old, something stupid like that. It's just a waste of time.
Sorry.
Usually it's me. Or you can do a little mute action. But anyway, so, uh-oh, they're going to get in trouble. And so he finally had to tell the interrogator, he threw down the cans and he said, he looked right into the camera because they were filming him and sending up all the videos of his interrogations to the Religious Technology Center, RTC. And he looked right into the camera and he said, I don't care. He said, that's the hell it with the F word. I don't care how many guards you have, whatever. If I'm not out here by noon tomorrow, I'm getting Amy and we're busting through the gate and you don't have a security guard, you don't have a fence, you don't have anything that can stop me. You'd have to shoot me in the back of the effing head. And got up and walked out. And you don't walk out of a session. People are trained to like bodily catch you and sit you back down in the chair. And these are drills and actual, things that you do in order to never let that happen, that somebody walks out. But he walked out like that. And they knew that he was serious. And finally, they expedited our release the next day. But anyway, that's a whole story. We did a video on that over on my channel, which you can see with my husband. But it's all unbelievable abuse. Unbelievable. Mental, physical.
Amy, I enjoy your channel with Matt. That's very funny. I'm looking forward to the Little Dicky stories.
Yeah. The Little Dicky stories are, before we started speaking out publicly, we were going around and seeing all these people that we had known there was like a mass exodus exodus from the int base. And so all these people that we knew were around the United States, sprinkled all over the place. And we started going and visiting everybody. And then Matt, who hadn't been up at the int base for some time, was like, are you freaking kidding me about all this stuff? He goes, we need to make this known. So he started writing these anonymous bedtime stories, like as a father giving a bedtime story to a son. And so they're called bedtime stories. And it's the Little Dicky series. And it's all about Little Dicky and how he abused his staff and all sorts of facts that were revealed. We were making known in these anonymous little stories. And there's about 15 of them. And we're going to share them with everybody. But so that was right before we started to speak out publicly, because it's really kind of scary at first, especially back then in 2000, in the 2000, probably 7, 8 type of time. Scientology has all the money in the world and private investigators. We left with $150 to our entire name with an 8th grade education or 9th grade, anyway. So, but we started speaking out. Anyway, that's a whole story in itself because of their forced disconnection with my mom. And if you haven't seen Scientology in the Aftermath, season 1, episode 1 is about my family, my mom, and the forced disconnection that we had together and how we fought back all the way to her deathbed. And so her voice will forever be heard because of that.
Yeah,
very proud of that.
Good.
Yeah. Here's the next question. From MCAS, with all these stories of his abuse, why hasn't a group of executives band together to stage a coup against DM? Are they so enamored of him because he got tax exempt status? What do you think, Janice?
I know Tom DeVock had tried to get a mutiny going and no one stood up and backed him. There was no Iron Spartacus. Everyone else was in fear of his henchmen, Miscavige's henchmen. Mm-hmm. But I don't think they're enamored by him because of his tax exempt status. I think they're in fear of him, of being, brutalized. And they try to please him rather than stand up against him.
Yeah, that's right. So first of all, he always has an entourage of his most loyal henchmen with him. So he's got that. And he has the ability to utterly ruin you. And I've seen him do it to people. Just randomly on a whim, send people off to the concentration camp, RPF, in different continents, separated from your family. Change your name so that your family can't find you, and different things like that. I got stories. And so a lot of times people are in fear of what he is capable of doing and will easily do. But he's just so horrible.
Yeah. Well, the changing names, I'm sure they've done that with Heber. Apparently they've put Heber in an old folk home or assisted living, but how are you supposed to find him?
Now, Heber was your stepdad for a while, right?
Heber was my stepfather, yes.
Yeah. Heber Gents was the president of the Church of Scientology International, and no one knows where he is. And that was Janice's stepdad for a while. And he was also married to Karen Delacarriere as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
But no one knows where he is. Not even his nieces and, his sister, the one that's still alive.
Wow. Yeah, it's another where is Shelley?
Yes.
Oh, boy. But anyway, that's one of the reasons why we just keep speaking up and keep speaking up. The next one says, this is from Marilyn. Hi, Marilyn. It says, hi, ladies. I admire you both so much. Question, were you in the audience for the LRH body dropping announcement? What did you think of it then and now? I've seen the whole video, creepy and confusing, in my opinion. Were you there, Janice?
Yeah, I was there up in the front, and I've never watched the video since, but I was there, and my immediate thought was, how am I now going to get things corrected? because I always felt I could, if he came back, I could at least tell him the truth of what's been going on and correct all the craziness that's been going on. But and that was my first thought.
That was your first thought.
Yeah.
And what do you think about it now?
Oh,
Like, what's your viewpoint now? Is kind of what she's asking, right? What do you think of it then and now?
yeah. Now I don't even think of it, but they were just so full of it. DM, Miscavige, and Pat, they made stuff up because they thought, how are we going to tell these people? And I remember hearing DM talking about it.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, and how he was going to be the MC and how he would tell people what happened, and they were actually just making stuff up in order to appease the audience.
Right. Yeah, like he's off, doing higher research.
Yeah, they made that up.
Yeah, obviously. Okay, so I was there. None of us knew what the event was going to be. But then when David Miscavige got up and announced that, that L. Ron Hubbard discarded his body that he used in this life and blah, blah, blah. And because he couldn't use his body for the advanced levels that he's now researching. And he's now, working on all this really super high research with no body. We were like, what was I thinking? Is he saying that LRH died?
To put it simply, yes.
Oh, it was so beating around the bush, but everybody was like making standing ovations and stuff like that, the way they framed it. But the interesting thing is right the next day, the Challenger space shuttle blew up with 7 astronauts on it and a teacher on it. And the commander of that flight was my uncle, Dick Scobee. And so I remember being in Tom Ashworth's executive office the next morning after this L. Ron Hubbard died event. And he said, the radio is all full of the Challenger exploding, which is, kind of like a good thing, because that means that the news and bad public relations about L. Ron Hubbard dying is being overshadowed by the Challenger explosion. And I'm like, the Challenger explosion? My uncle, I got an invitation to that takeoff, which of course I couldn't go to, but I got an invitation to that takeoff. I wonder who was on that. So at that time, in order to make a phone call, you had to get a completed staff work CSW approved, and then you had to run it up the flagpole, get it approved, and then the one phone that you can call from was down in the garage. So I'm running down to the garage to make a phone call to my family, and somebody comes chasing after me with my folder, my case folder, which meant to me, okay, somebody found out it is my uncle, because they want to put me right into a session or something. And I said, let me just go call my family. Anyway, so yeah, that was not a good day. I
remember walking into the office and you telling me that your uncle was the commander of that shuttle.
Yeah. It was not a good day. Scientology celebrated not getting back, a bunch of publicity about L. Ron Hubbard dying because of it. I wasn't celebrating. Okay, so this is from CG Pulse LP. I don't know how I'm supposed to say that, but anyway, this is from you. So, love you both. Y'all are both so funny. It makes for a good girls' night. Courtney, thank you, Courtney.
You just need a few margaritas.
Yeah. I've got not a margarita. Yeah, this is, you don't even want to know, but anyway, it's nothing good. Okay, so here's the next one. So this is from Gail Watkins. It says, I loved both of your books. Only read Janice's first book.
Oh, well, good. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. More reading ahead. Okay, and this is from Destiny Salazar again. Confiscating all of your personal items sounds like a way for them to otherize you so they can make sense of the wrong they're doing.
Yes.
Otherize, like in other words, I'm not part of them anymore or something, or
Yeah,
what do you
something
think?
like that, or yeah. And you never were.
Something. Yeah, yeah. If yes, confiscate all that stuff like as if we were never even existed. And then we don't have any evidence of somebody smiling, like standing next to David Miscavige smiling as if, because it would go against all of she was never a good person. We always had a hard time with her. She was just trouble from the beginning. That's why.
They could at least gone through the photos and cut people's faces out. That's what Paul's grandmother did.
Really? Oh, that's funny. Okay, so the next one is from Juliana Bittencourt, and it says, The Notorious Never Ends will be hosting the second Chatathon on June 26th, 9 p.m. Eastern. Join us up all night for the love of Mike. Team Mike. Oh, nice. Okay, Notorious Never Ends. That's wonderful. And Janice, you wanted to mention something from Jeff?
Yeah, I did. I've got
Jeff
that
Hawkins?
here. Jeff Hawkins, he lives in Portland, Oregon, and he's been hosting meetings with ex-Scientologists. It's a support group, and he's got one coming this Saturday on June 10th. And if any of you there in the Portland area, you're welcome to come, whether you're in, whether you're under the radar or you're out, whatever status. It's at 11 a.m. at the Grace Church on the corner of 12th and Clay in downtown Portland. Anyone who's left Scientology or wants to leave, Scientology is welcome. Your privacy will be respected. So that's being hosted by Jeff Hawkins.
Good. Wonderful. Another friend of ours for 100 years.
Yeah.
This is from Andrew Hogg, and it says, do you know how we can offer a space for an overnight spot of people who blow? I'm in upstate New York and have extra room, not far from New York City and that org. Okay, well, thank you, Andrew. That's wonderful. What I recommend is write to the Aftermath Foundation because they know who needs help and where they're located. In fact, I'm now on the board, and so is Matt, my husband, on the Aftermath Foundation board. And so I'll be finding out that kind of information. But for now, if you write to the Aftermath Foundation and offer your help, it goes into a specific file so that when we have people in a certain area, we know what resources exist. Thank you for your offer. That's very appreciated. Okay, PT Bird says, has SPTV thought of doing a website for the missing to list people, family suicides, people can't locate, people can add pics and last time seen? I mean, I haven't thought of that, but that's something to think about, right?
Yeah, maybe there's someone out there who can has the ability to do that type of thing, can pick it up.
Yeah. And then let us know and we can advertise it and people can then go there and add people that they know and photos and whatever. That's a wonderful idea. Thank you so much for that. Okay, I think I went through all of those immediate questions. Let's see if there's, I don't know how to, now I go to the regular questions, and I don't know, it's a million things to wade through. So thank you for, I love all your comments anyway. I'll have to go back and watch it to be able to see these things. But Dick Scobee was an American hero. Yes, he was. We're very proud of him. My little hometown of Auburn, Washington celebrates him. Like the little school I went to is called Dick Scobee Elementary. The airfield is called Dick Scobee Field. And his mural is up in the post office in the high school and things like that. And even though it's a little town, we all have a lot of pride in our little hometown hero. But anyway, so thank you. Oh gosh, look at all these messages. What am I going to do?
I see I have a nickname. You're Queen Bee and I'm OG.
You should be OG. That is perfect. That's perfect for you. I always refer to you as the OG. Yes, I'm so glad that somebody said that.
Yeah.
But what we need to do though is we need to figure out what symbolizes OG, because it can't be old looking.
It's, what is it? Original gangster? Is that what it is?
Old guard.
Old guard?
Yeah, that's what I think. What they gotta say.
Someone needs to tell us what OG means.
Yeah, Janice is OG. OGAF. Gildy, you're so funny. Okay. But anyway, somebody's going to tell us what OG is. I think it's old guard, but what did you think it was, Janice? Old
Original
gangsta?
gangster.
Oh, it says old gangsta.
Old gangster. Okay.
And then people are saying original gangsta, old gangsta. So I don't know why guard. Why did I think that stupid thing? Like gangster better. Okay, well, that's wonderful. Okay, so is there anything else that you wanted to cover, Janice?
No, I think we've got it, except for I can hear Mark in my ear, on my shoulder. Subscribe to our channel. It's at Mark and Janice Gillum, Mark Fisher and Janis Grady. Our Scientology stories, peeling the onion.
Okay, good. And I'm going to my thing here. Let me see real quick. Whoops. So my channel. Okay, so yes, I need to get my stats up for Thursday at 2. I would like 7,777 subscribers. So, but you know what a friend told me? You don't say, please like and subscribe. You say, smash that like button. Destroy the subscribe button.
Okay.
Oh my God. Anyway, it's not really my kind of like thing, but if you would please
Smash
subscribe.
that subscribe button. Press that like button for both of us.
Yes. And I see Jeff Hawkins. I'm gonna just throw him up there. Love you too, Jeff. I know you
You're
write
welcome,
Jefferson,
Jeff.
and I've only called you ever Jeff, so I can't get it out of my system. Jefferson, I love you. Okay, wonderful. So, oh, look at, we've got 5-starred things. I better take them real quick, okay?
Yep.
Does anybody mind? Okay. So, let's do this. JK in Toronto, Amy, could a celeb shooting a film somewhere else go and study at a local org, or do they have to go to CC? You know, before they went to a regular organization, there would have to be things set up in advance, because their Celebrity Center International likes to like hone it in and be in control of all celebrity centers. So we would need, they would, oh my God, did I say we? They would need to be informed, and they would have a representative of Celebrity Center International there, and probably their own auditor and PR person, and everybody sent over to that organization. Because if they're, let's say, because they film a lot in Victoria or in Canada, if they went to the organization there and there's no Celebrity Center International would send people out. Hope that answers your question.
That's different.
Yeah. Why? What did you used to do?
No, when my mother ran it, celebs went to the other orgs, and she just kept in touch with them. You didn't go as far as sending auditors out to them.
Oh,
a
absolutely.
regular auditor should be able to handle a celebrity.
Yeah, not so much.
But they don't. But
no. No, and then it's out of control, and then plus, no, it's a control thing for sure. Because if you do a really good job, they're and schmooze them like crazy and get them under your wings and groom them up, then you're going to have that celebrity speaking favorably about Scientology, and that's what they want. Yeah. Okay, so that's that one. The next one says, okay, if anybody has questions, throw in your super chats, because when the super chats are done, we're going to end. So this one is from Lori Plays, in Tampa and on the list. Just waiting for my call. I'll fight the SO member trying to keep my escapee from leaving. Okay, you're in Tampa and on the list. Now, what does that mean? What list? Just waiting for my call.
They're on the list for being able to, someone who blows, giving them a place
Oh
to
yeah.
stay.
Oh yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
they're just
And
waiting for that person to escape and come to them.
see, that's so good. So here's somebody who's in Tampa and they're on that list. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Next one says, "Hey me, can you tell us about Sonny Bono in Scientology? What year did he die, Janice? Do you remember?" I don't remember.
Oh,
He was
no.
never on my radar. So anyway, so I don't have any information about it other than he died in a skiing accident. And I don't think he was like regularly on lines or anything like that. There was literally no information about him when
Yeah.
I was in charge. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, and Guror says, "Hey me, can you tell us about..." That's it. I already did that one. Sorry.
That's the same one.
Well, it's because I didn't take the star off. Here we go. Okay. This is from the Cat and Maggie. It says
Oh,
Janice OG is original goddess. Okay. Yeah, fully accepted. So that's awesome, Janice. And I can also see a beautiful crochet for OG.
I like that. Original goddess. I'll take it.
Yeah. Yep, you're more of a goddess than a gangster, to me at least. Okay, everyone, I think I've got everything. And so it's been really fun being with everyone tonight and being with you, Janice. We need to talk more often, that's for sure.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I've had fun. Thanks, Amy.
Yes, of course. Okay, everyone, until next week, we'll see you later. Bye.
Good night.